Good afternoon, this is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding, here to discuss the basics of the Form 2555 Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. The Foreign Earned Income Exclusion is one of the best opportunities for U.S. persons residing overseas earning income, and that's earned income, not passive income, whether self-employed or employed for someone else, an employer, right? you can claim a certain amount of income to be excluded from your tax return. So essentially what happens is if you meet the requirements, you can prove the tax home test and either physical presence or Bona-Fide residence, then you're able to exclude up to, I think it's about 107,000 give or take of income, along with a portion of your housing exclusion. So for a married couple, let's say living overseas, earning $200,000 a year, you can skate by without having to pay tax on any of that income. Let's go through the basics. If you're a U.S. person, U.S. taxes you on your worldwide income, right? You're a U.S. citizen, let's say, a permanent resident. You live in country X. All of your income comes from country Y. Well, even though you don't live in the United States and the income is sourced from overseas, guess what? U.S. is still going to tax you on your worldwide income. In addition, when you're considered a U.S. person, you also have to report your global assets, accounts, and investments to the U.S. government, including passive income, dividends, interest, royalties, things of that nature. Even if it's tax exempt overseas, typically it's still going to be reported on your U.S. tax return. When earned income is one of the key elements to somebody's earnings overseas, and that's a significant portion of their tax liability, well, there is a way legally that a person can avoid having to pay tax on that income, and it's called the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. Essentially, it has to be earned income, such as employment income or self-employment income, and you have to show, one, that the foreign country is a tax home, and two, you either meet the physical presence test or the Bona-Fide Residence Test. Physical presence test is the easier of the two tests because essentially it boils down to accounting days, more than 330 days, okay? Bona-Fide residence is a little bit more nebulous. You got to show that you're a bona fide resident of the country, significant contacts or something similar. You don't necessarily have to meet the 330-day rule, but essentially the concept is you're a bona fide resident of the foreign country and live there for a majority of the time. So typically the thought process is it has to be at least around 10 plus months in order to show bona fide residence. That's not an absolute requirement. But it's something to keep in mind. If you're out of the country for a month, but you consider yourself a bona fide resident of the foreign country, that's probably not going to fly. Okay. A couple of considerations when doing the Form 2555. It doesn't have to be. It's a 12-month period. For example, physical presence, 330 days over a 12-month period. It doesn't have to be January to December. It could be any 12-month period. And if you haven't gotten there yet, there's something called Form 2530 that you can file as well in order to kind of hold on to put it on hold for a bit pending you reaching the necessary requirements to meeting, for example, Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. There's also housing exclusion. Housing exclusion works a little bit differently. Think of it sort of like a sandwich, right? Let's just say you had $30,000 of foreign housing. The first $10,000 is normally something you cannot take. The middle portion, the next 10,000 you can take, and then the next portion you can't take. So it's basically that middle portion you can take. It generally ranges around 10 or 15,000, depending if it's a high cost of living area. You can also claim foreign tax credits for earned income as well, but you cannot double dip. So your salary is $500,000. You use the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. You paid significant tax. You can also use the foreign tax credits, but there's an equation that goes into the form which basically prevents you from applying the foreign earned income portion. Well, let me take that back. What happens is when you have the foreign tax credit, it limits the foreign earned income exclusion portion so that when you claim the foreign tax credits, you can't double dip the full amount of the salary with foreign tax credits. You have to first offset the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. But it's great. They do work in tandem. You can also claim the foreign tax credits for passive income, even if you've claimed the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. For earned income, they're not mutually exclusive. There's some some bad information online. But overall, the foreign earned income exclusion is a great way to eliminate certain tax. One very important thing to keep in mind, and a last thought, is this. Even though you can exclude the income, that doesn't mean you just don't file a tax return. Expat myth 101, if I make less than $100,000 a year, I don't need to file a tax return. That's not correct. If you make less than $100,000 a year, now it's around $107,600, you can include the income on your tax return, include the foreign earned income exclusion, which will then remove or kick out the income as part of your tax liability. But it doesn't mean you just don't file. Because if you don't file, how's the IRS going to know that you can claim the exclusion? In that kind of case, you can end up having a significant tax debt or liability that could lead to passport revocation, seizure, liens, and levies. If you've missed the compliance for filing taxes and other reporting, our firm specializes in offshore disclosure. There's many programs available: voluntary disclosure if you're willful or can't certify under penalty of perjury that you're non-willful, streamlined procedures, delinquency, and a reasonable cause. We have lots of free information available on our main website, goldinglawyers.com, and we have a bunch of sub-websites for specific topics. Again, my name is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.